Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give it a like.
Also down in the description, our podcast, Haberman, him, Middlecoff, me. Subscribe as
All
well.
right, we got our golf gear on, John. There's no golf, but got our U.S. Open stuff. Oh, looks good. Pebble. Got my Tiger East Lake hat. You got the TW. Because the Masters made announcement, John, they are intending to play at Augusta November 9th to the 15th. And the defending champ is none other than Tiger Woods. And the question is, can he win a six Masters?
Do you know the irony of the announcements today? The Open no longer.
Yeah.
The Masters is typically the first, not the first big tournament because the players happen. Really, a lot of the tournaments, I would say, in March and even February, the AT&T Pro Am, they feel pretty big. But the Masters is the first major. So once that hits, you kind of get then into the summer.
Right.
It feels like that's where you're headed for the other majors. Even they changed the PGA Championship a couple years ago to be second. Actually, I think last year was the first year. But it's now going to be not just the last major guy in November. Like that's a pretty now listen, the corona thing's throwing our whole country upside down, but that's nuts, right? That's just on the surface. If I would have told you at the beginning of the year, something's going to happen in America, not to like the state of Georgia, but all over America, that's going to force the Masters to be moved to the middle of football season, what would you have said?
What's Romo going to do? Which is what I'm saying now. What's Romo going to do?
Where do you think Jim Nance is Saturday and Sunday?
Augusta
Or I guess all
National.
week. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
too.
I didn't, John. I went back here and I found this quote from Jack Nicklaus many years ago. This was Nicklaus played with Tiger and Arnold Palmer when Tiger was 20 years old, and he said that guy Tiger's going to win more Masters than Arnold and I combined, which was 10. 10 is a tall order, John. That's
Did
unlikely.
did Jack or Arnie knock any off after '96, or was that
No, I don't. I think they had already stacked up their 10 by then. So here's what Tiger's got. I think you guys are going to like these. He's got 97. Look at Faldo putting the jacket on him. He's got 01 with VJ. 02, I mean, basically put the jacket on himself. 05, and we all thought he was done. And then last year, he wins number 5 in 2019. And that was it. Patrick Reed's putting it on him there.
Think about that. Look at those lists of former champions: VJ, Faldo, Phil, and Patrick Freed. What a
It
group!
is. It is a group. It's not a group. The interesting thing, Patrick and Tiger both had the same driving average last year, about 296. So the question is, can Tiger win this thing? And we talked a little bit about this with Hunter Mahan on the YouTube channel. You can go watch that video, and we actually he tells us a lot about Tiger Woods. And some of the stuff he told us about Tiger is why I think Tiger can win this thing, John. We'll get into why he can and maybe why he can't too. But a layoff, I don't think is going to hurt him. I do think it'll help him because what did Hunter tell us? Nobody works harder than Tiger. Even this version of Tiger still works very hard. His competitiveness is through the roof. We saw last year at the Masters his experience specifically at that event on that course is so valuable. And the game has maybe passed him by in terms of driving distance at some other courses, but not at this one.
I do think the one thing that helped him out in 19 was it was wet, and he's the best iron player. He's always been arguably the best iron player ever. But this kind of second post back fusion and this new Tiger we've seen the last 3 or 4 years has been really good. To me, he's still arguably the best iron player in the world. So he can kind of pin hunt and hold the ball. I The one thing that makes me nervous though is when you Tiger specifically more than the young guys that play a lot of tournaments, he picks and chooses what he plays throughout the year because he wants to build up to the 4 tournaments and definitely the Masters, which probably every year is going to be his best shot to win a major. Just like you said, his history there, his understanding of the course, and just there is still it'd be like Tom Brady walking back through Foxborough. It just feels right when he's there
And it's warm. It's a warm
and it's
place.
warm. The weather like in November to me, so him peaking, so he's gonna have to build his schedule around a peak November 12th. How does that work? And two, is he sweating or is he
Yeah.
freezing?
Well, part of the reason, one of the things that happened at Pebble Beach, the U.S. Open, was it was cold. It wasn't frigid, but it was cold and it was wet. And Tiger basically said afterwards, My body can't. He's going to be 45 on December 30th. 45 years old, Tiger Woods. That's just not what his body. The ball hurts to hit a little more in the cold. It's just harder to hit it in the cold. It's harder to get loose in the cold. So I went back, John. Go ahead.
When he won the Tour Championship, you were there.
Yeah.
Was that in 18?
Yep.
The fall of 18?
Late September.
Were you sweating the whole time when you were there?
Very hot. It was very hot in Atlanta.
It was hot and humid.
It was hot.
Great. Would you say great golf weather?
Not a soul was wearing long sleeves ever. It was
fantastic.
To
me, any tournament where you're gonna sweat gives Tiger an opportunity to play well.
So I went back and looked at November weather in Augusta for the last 3 years for these dates. Last year, 2019, okay, November 15th is what it's scheduled for. The highest high of those 4 days was 63 degrees at 6 a.m. on November 12th. The year before, 2018, the highest high was 70 degrees at noon on the 19th. Well, actually, that date's wrong because we needed it to be the 15th. But whatever, you get the idea. You can see before on the 15th, it was 46 degrees. And then the year before, 2017, the highest high was, as you can see, November 13th, was 66 degrees. So it's not going to be probably San Francisco Pebble cold, but it's not going to be warm in all likelihood.
We're a long way out, and we don't even have an NFL schedule yet. But do you imagine we see Masters as normal, like tee times? Obviously, last year changed because of the weather. They teed off early. Historically, they don't change for anything. They didn't really have a choice then because, remember, they were terrified that this huge storm was going to come in.
Right.
Was it Sunday afternoon?
Right.
I don't even know if it ended up coming, but they couldn't risk it. And I wonder now they're not in business with the NFL, but they're in business with CBS, and they just signed a couple weeks since we were recording this ago. They signed a huge television deal, with all their partners. And I just wonder if just given these circumstances, do they work around to help CBS out and college football, right? I mean, CBS, even in 2020, the ABC doesn't take over for a couple of years. That SEC game, Alabama, LSU, whoever it may be, kicks off at 1:00, right? So do they build Saturday and Sunday, the tee times earlier, which historically this time of year, I would imagine you're talking lower temps than the high, right? If you're teeing off at 7 a.m. I think the weather is a huge factor against Tiger if you're just looking big picture.
Yeah,
more than the timing of the event and how he builds up to it. I think it's probably going to be cold.
He's had 4 back surgeries. The last one was 2017. So physically, he's been pretty solid. He had the neck remember last year he left one tournament with a neck strain or whatever. Yeah. But I think it's fully about the weather. The other thing he did so well there last year was putt. I mean, I went back and watched the highlights. Do you remember this? He is at the par 4 9th and has a 70-foot putt for birdie, and he puts it within like 6 inches. Pars the hole, later birdies 15, and then goes into 16 with the lead and wins the thing.
To me, it didn't become real until Saturday when he was 5 under, shot 67. When Tiger Woods was in the final group at Augusta, yeah. I think you had the entire country, everyone there, everyone watching, and I know he couldn't feel the television viewers, but he had to understand what was on the line. And remember, he was back. Remember, we're all getting up early, especially us on the West Coast, and he was a couple down. And like, oh my God. Then they all hit it in the water on 12, and then it kind of changed. It's still one of the greatest things I've ever watched. But when I look at the schedule, you don't live that far away from Harding Park. That is August 6th to 9th. Could that be a little warmer than it would have been in May? It's weird to say, but the weather in the Bay Area is weird. Sometimes August and September are warmer than like May and June, right?
Yeah, it could be.
He's had success there. He's won there before.
The President's Cup we talked to Hunter Mahan about was there.
I don't think that's – if you told me he's in contention there. And that's not a super long
course, right? As you and I played it last year.
Yeah, I actually kind of like that date, given that maybe it's a little warmer there than people would. Because, again, it could be overcast there 24/7, 365. Right. I'm not saying it's going to be sunny, but, I think there's a chance there. I know we're a long way away, but that weather thing is really scary for him in November. And just given how does he peak into it? Does that mean his schedule? What does he do in October? Is he
Mhm.
just practicing full time? You could argue not just Tiger, but all the top players in the world. It's gonna be a different situation and scenario for them. This probably be the most unique Masters ever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's
But if it's weird for everybody, I do give him a little bit of an advantage in that situation, given his history there.
Can you imagine Tiger Woods winning back-to-back Masters in like the middle of the NFL season? How awesome that would
Oh my
be.
God, would that be? I mean, and we're not talking about, like you said, we're talking about November, which is those NFL games really matter.
Yeah,
But if he pulled it off, God, that Sunday would be special.
it
We don't,
would.
and the thing is, you don't need him to win. You just need him to be. You just
Just need
need
him
Red
around.
to be coming down the stretch late.
Just need him around.
All right, good video. Give us a like, everybody, and a handshake.